Hey everyone. I know this title is quite abrasive, quite kind of head on, quite offensive to pretty much any human that's going to read it. But I want to preface by saying this is me talking to myself as much as it's me talking to everyone my age. But I really think that this is something that needs to be accepted in your own head if you don't want to be helpless. And that's, of course, like I said in the title, you're never going to have a happy relationship. But of course, it's a little clickbaity. What I actually mean by that is that kind of boomer style teenage love, you know what I mean? Like Grease kind of story. That's never going to happen for you. And especially if it hasn't happened yet, that's never going to happen for you. You won't meet the one. You won't get love at first sight. That's dead in this day and age. But I think that gives way to a different kind of benefit, different pros and different cons. It's like the old saying goes that everyone keeps talking about at the minute because of current events, that the weak men create bad times and bad times create strong men, etc. The cycle. We are in the bad times. We're in the social dip. We're in, what's it called? Behavioral sink from that one mice study. But something like this is a tough pill to swallow that you're going to have to swallow eventually if you want to reproduce and continue this civilization, which I personally think is a good thing. I think it's something you should want to do. All your forefathers, all your foremothers, they all wanted to do that and they all put up with hell in order to make sure that you exist today. So you owe it to them to continue the cycle. But the reason I say that you're never going to have that kind of teenage love is because our brains are fried. Our dopamine receptors have been blitzed since we were children with bright lights, with audio, with sugar, with substances, with preservatives, stimulants like caffeine. For many people, with stuff like alcohol, nicotine, as soon as they were old enough to start stealing it. And for some even more unfortunate souls, harder drugs that fry your dopamine receptors even more. But there's the healing that you can get from the damage that that does is limited. You're not going to be able to go back to, even if you went cold turkey on all of it for the rest of your life, your brain's architecture has changed. Like you can't undo the damage that's been done 100%. You can make a lot of progress, but you will never go back to what an untainted, unabused child would get. The unabused teen, the pure teen that falls in love with another pure teen and they have a happy relationship. You will never get back to that state. And you need to sit with yourself and accept this now, because the longer you idealize that like concept of yourself, that state that you never were in, the more tortured you will be right now, because you'll look at your own situation and go, I am so far below that threshold and I need to be at that threshold if I want to check this off my list. So I have so much work to do, which will immobilize you. There's no point in that. That's just a form of kind of sad masturbation, if you get me. You're gratifying your sadness in your pit. That's a bad idea. That will get you nowhere. But I think something that we're going to see with the aftermath of the Gen Z kind of club phase, the club age range, the dating friend, or I should say the hypergamous frenzy that everyone's in at the minute, where they're either completely involuntarily celibate or they're crazy hypergamous. I think that that's going to come to a close eventually. Some people will never leave that phase. Some people won't have what they need to cross that barrier. But I think the Overton window, the popular term for this kind of stuff at the minute, the culture, we'll move past that for our generation. And what I think is going to be beyond, once the smoke clears, I think it's going to be a different type of mature relationship. That this is what you should be aiming for because it's all you can get. And it's two people who understand that the kind of physical, mental, stimulatory pleasure is never going to be there. And it's not like the movies, you know what I mean? But two people who know that and accept it and are looking for the soul. And I think that would save a lot of people. And I think more and more people over time are going to reach this conclusion as they kind of dry up every other avenue that they could come up with so far. And I think that's what we'll start seeing on a mass scale. And I know it sucks, right? It sucks to go, I will never have that cool thing. But I think it's better for you in the long run. I think it leads to healthier parents for their children. Think about, say, the silent generation, right? They're the strong men who created good times. And why? Because they lived through bad times. It was only because they lived through the absolute hell that was the two world wars and the total death and destruction, that they could build such a warless world, or I should say warless country, warless collection of countries, continent maybe, because the world never stops fighting. But the reason why they could build such a cushy world for their kids, which their kids, of course, inevitably destroyed over time because they were raised in it. So what the world isn't dangerous to a person who's lived only in safety their entire lives. So there's nothing to worry about. All actions are meaningless. But that's what it's going to kind of be like with us, where our parents, since the 60s, really, all of our forefathers have been tearing apart the foundations of relationships. And it's been increasing with every generation, and we're the culmination of that point. And I think when you reach the kind of culmination, these kind of event horizons almost, it collapses in on itself and you end up with something new that rises, like a phoenix rising out of the ashes. These things happen in cycles, right? And I think it's best to just start preparing for that. And it's best to reach that level of acceptance now, because then you'll be ahead of the curve. And if you want to look at things autistically, like a video game, you know what I mean, where you're looking at how can I get the highest rank, the sooner you reach this conclusion, the sooner that you can catch someone else in the prime of their life, in effect. Everybody is the youngest that they're ever going to be. So if you want to enjoy your most prime years with the person that you're going to bond your soul with, then you'd better get started sooner rather than later. So this is where I go. You need to accept, in conclusion, basically, you need to accept that teen love, never going to happen. Love at first sight, never going to happen. What will happen is a better future. How am I going to build it? What can I learn in order to facilitate this future that I'm hoping for my kids? How can I insulate my children against the total destruction of my brain that happened to me? How can I protect against that? What were the sources? What behavior patterns led me towards that? What could have saved me from it entirely? What actions could have saved me from it entirely, or blockers? And I think you have to start planning out how you're going to instate that. So yeah, best of luck, everyone.